Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the CCA PLA13. This is KZ's interpretation of what a planar should be, or well, their first interpretation. This is not going to be surely their last. And before getting into a little bit more details, I just wanted to say that kudos must be given to KZ and to CCA for having developed this. I mean, to have gone from the ground up with a fully in-house designed, engineered driver, and do everything and offer it at the price of $65 roughly, is something which in its own is already a victory in my book. Obviously, there are currently other offerings which are just as costly, which is, I'm talking about the Chimera, the Celeste, but this until now was basically the cheapest or the most affordable offering in terms of having access to what a planar driver is and what a planar driver is capable of doing, and this type of technology. All right. Anyway, before I carry on a little bit more in detail, I just wanted to tell you what's in front of us. Well, obviously, try TK2 on this side. On this side, my trusty NX7 with my UA3 chainlink deck, and then I've only chosen two planars here because I think that's more than enough for me to position the PLA and for everybody to get basically an idea. I've got the Tyoko and I've got the Kirin. So 7Hz Tyoko, TRN Kirin, and the PLA. If you remember in my previous, or not in my previous review, but in my review of the Wuzetian from Tangzhou, the planar from them, I kind of positioned the planars in a kind of a tier, okay? And in the lowest, take that with a grain of salt. In the lowest tier, I had the TRN, I had the PLA, which I was just listening to it, and that's why I didn't talk too much about it. And I had the Muse Hi-Fi, and I had them in that level. The main reason being was that they, although they had their merits and they had their good points, they just weren't, in my opinion, fully exploited in terms of what their potential of a planar driver could be. And that's why they were there. I mean, the Muse was there because Muse could have learned from 7Hz and from and Let's Sure, and offered something which was actually quite interesting, because I then actually retuned the Muse and made it way more interesting than what it is. And when you graph the Muse actually and you compare it, it's only in certain areas that things need to be addressed. So they could have been a little bit more polished in the tuning. The TRN, some people liked it, other people didn't like it. I personally found it engaging. It's a fun sounding IEM that its flaw is perhaps not having showcased more the planar characteristics. And what are the planar characteristics that we all want? We want a planar for the fact that it's got incredibly clean, detailed resolving mids, and this nice, detailed, clean treble. That's what a planar is known for. It's the mids which are just unreal, expansive. There's space, there's everything. And the highs which are equally as expansive. There's this sense of endless space. I recall listening to the 7Hz at the time. It was the first time, and I was like, wow, it's got some serious sound stage. All right. The PLA falls into that group for precisely the same reason as the TRN. It's a monstrous V-shaped signature. Well, not only for a dynamic driver to be monstrous, but for a planar it's monstrous, which has the positive, which is it makes it loads of fun. I mean, this, you could probably say this is like probably the ideal for a bass head. By a bass head that wants a planar that will pound your head to the ground, this is an option. This is definitely an option. I mean, another IEM, planar IEM that we've known is equally as capable in that department is the Let's Sure S12. I mean, unbelievable. However, it comes tuned from stock, in stock format, to be tamed, and that's where this this for me, that for me is the fault of the PLA. The fact that the PLA has got so much bass, it has basically and only with certain music which is not bass heavy, that then you start seeing those characteristics of a planar driver. But because of all the bass that it has basically taken away that sensation of listening to a planar and given us a very good DD. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a monstrous DD. I'm listening to this and I'm reminded of the TFC Tequila Pro, for example. I'm reminded of those very heavily V-shaped signatures of some DD drivers, which are fun and engaging, and it's very good. But if what you're looking for is resolution and in detail and vocals and so on, no, then this struggles, because it's just overwhelmed by how much bass power is coming. I mean, in the second part, when I show you the graphs, you'll understand better what I'm saying. Having said that, and let's now kind of try and position things a little bit better. The Dioko is absolutely amazing when it comes to detail, loads of details, but at the cost of one thing: not being fun. It is not fun. There's no bass there. It's just very sterile, and even the fact that it's been tuned for being sub-bass focused, at the end of the day, it's not really that present, because not a lot of music has got some serious sub-bass focus. And even if you listen to EDM or music or electronic, more electronic derived bass music, okay, you will feel that it's lacking. It's very thin, very. It's well done, very executed. Whatever bass is there is good, but it's very thin. It's very shallow. It needed a bit more oomph to become truly fun. However, if you are one that wants details, yes, that there's definitely. As for the Kirin, kind of, if you are again careful with the music that you listen to, you are able to let that planar magic come through. Okay, it's not as pronounced. That defect is not as pronounced as on the PLA. And when you see the graph, you'll see what I mean. The PLA has got a good 5 dBs of bass over the Kirin. So if you choose music carefully, you see that planar magic coming through, and tip selection, my friends, very important for the Kirin, and dramatically important for the PLA. Sorry, dramatically important. But you choose a nice tip, and I've got the 07 medium-sized Cyan tips from KBE on the Kirin, and you're going to be surprised. Trust me, you're going to be surprised. It's going to play really nice, really clean. It's going to give you some nice mids. It's going to give you some nice highs. It's going to give you a little bit of that planar magic, definitely. And you're going to say, okay, wow, nice. I didn't spend $110, $150, $120, and I'm not getting what I was expecting. No, you will. Build its quality is amazing, as is on the Dioko. The tunable filters, although honestly they don't really do much, to be completely transparent. They could have worked a little bit more on that, in my opinion, TRN. But anyway, nice. The PLA compared to them, if I was to kind of chop the lower frequencies off and just look at the higher frequencies, so let's say above 500 hertz, you would see that there aren't that much of dramatic differences. This one will be the more neutral, definitely, the Dioko. This one will be capable of following the Dioko above 8Ks in its neutralness, okay? But between there, it will be a little bit of up and down ride. And this one, especially with these KBE tips, is actually the one that follows more closely the neutral kind of signature that the Dioko has, although with a little bit extra energy. Okay, so what I'm basically saying is, if this had brought down the bass, or if you bring down the bass down with some EQing, which is one thing that planar drivers actually take very nicely to. Planar drivers, for some reason, they accept EQing very well. That's one positive thing. One negative thing is they need loads of power to shine. So any one of these, you want them to truly shine, you give them power. Probably the one that will be the less demanding will be the Dioko. You give serious power to the keyring, it will play and will surprise you. You give some serious power and you know, EQ it a little bit to lower the bass if that's your thing, and you will be impressed by the PLA. Same thing happened, by the way, with the 10i5 P1 Max, one of my favorite planars. A lot of people didn't get the magic because they just weren't giving it enough power. Same thing happened as well. I recall now with the original Timeless, some people were saying that, you know, it was a little bit closed in. It didn't sound like it was capable of being expansive, and it was just a question of power, because planars by default, by the way they are manufactured, they require power to really be capable of showing what they want. So back to the PLA. In the above 500-600 hertz area, it's actually not bad. It is truly not bad. And if you lower the bass like I did with some EQ, you actually can see a lot of planar characteristics coming through. It's got nice clean mids, details, everything comes through. The only issue, and I'm sure that KZ will be resolving this in a future planar driver that they will be having. I mean, I had already previously heard this from KZ themselves, but my friend Paul Wasabi, he confirmed it as well recently in his review of the PLA. KZ is going to be launching a KZ branded planar, and apparently the tuning there has been more they've listened to what people have been saying about the PLA, and the tuning there seems that it's been more done in a more coherent manner. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, but unfortunately we won't have to wait much, because I mean, with KZ we can expect an IEM almost every week from them, which is a good thing actually. Well, it's bad because you can't keep up, but it's good because you know you don't have to wait too long for a new one. But anyway, that's the PLA in a nutshell. It's a fun IEM. It's a planar. It costs $65. If you're looking for details and you know, things like that, forget it. No, it's not that they are not there. They are there. If you EQ it, yes, you will see decent detail retrieval. You will see a nice balance of male vocals, female vocals, instruments, timbre. Everything does come through in a more than acceptable manner for the price that it costs. There's decent soundstage, there's good imaging, everything. However, all of those characteristics which are positive, if you are not one to EQ, and depending on what music you listen to, all of those characteristics will be diminished more or less depending on what you listen to, of course. And it's a pity. It's honestly a pity, because like I said in the beginning, it's an IM which deserves its merits for having been well executed, in my opinion, in terms of design and everything from scratch. They designed their own driver, everything. That deserves merit. It deserves to be congratulated. And yeah, and that's basically it, guys. As always, like and subscribe. I'll show you the graphs in a second, so that you guys can better perceive what I was talking about. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Hi guys, and well, here we are with the graphs. Let me just take away some of the graphs which are not necessary for now. Okay, there we go. Alright, so graph of the CCA PLA is this. Actually, let me just put with the stock tips. That's the graph of the PLA with the stock tips. Excuse me. And as I was just saying earlier, if you're looking from 500 hertz up, it's not bad. It's, you know, decent enough pin gain. A little bit too much, fine, fair enough. A little bit too much, but it's okay. It's fine. I mean, we're talking about a pin gain which is around 11 dBs. So it's not that it's just a little bit too much, and you know, we must consider that planar drivers must be addressed in a slightly different way when you talk about how peanut gains are done and all of that. And then, you know, kind of rolls off nicely. There's a dip here at around 5-ish K, so no real sibilance, and then some energy, you know, coupler and some energy past that. So it's not bad. It's not bad. You change the tips and it gets better. In my opinion, it gets better. It just kind of makes things here more plateaued. Okay, and although this might not graphically to some be a proof of things improving, when you listen to it, it improves. It cleans it up. It makes it nicer. So for the sake of the rest of the comparison of the graphs here, I'm actually going to leave it with the KB year tips on there, right? So the first one I'm going to put on here is the total opposite of this, which is the Dyoko, okay? And here is the Dyoko, right? And as you can see, and as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's not like there's a massive difference here. We're talking about a difference of 3-4 dBs. This stays kind of the same. It's not a huge difference. It's not something which I would consider offensive, okay? I mean, just for the sake of comparison, because I didn't talk about it during the actual review, but just for you guys to see what I mean, what I'm trying to say, that the CCA is not that it has this offensive amount of, or the, you know, the mids have been down in a kind of not the ideal manner. Okay, this is, and those that are savvy will know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the graph. Okay, that's the curve of the Lecture S12. You see, look, pin again, 10 dBs roughly as well, kind of very similar. I mean, very similar. There's honestly, I don't think that the PLA, the problem is not here. This is not the problem of the PLA. The problem of the PLA is here. And if you guys remember, when the S12 came out, people were saying it was monstrous bass and this and that, and we're talking about a difference of what, 5-6 dBs here almost. So, you know, if they had dropped the bass by that, I think the PLA would have been an absolute winner. It would have been an absolute winner. They would have sold everything and not know where to get material to build more. That's my opinion. Okay, so against the Dyoko, as I was saying, not that it's that dramatic difference, but then you can see where the problem with the Dyoko is. It's just too lean. You know, you should have nice energy at least until 100, and then you drop. Too lean. So it's nice, it's super detailed, but it's too lean. It's very unfun. Let's put it that way. Okay, if you like listening to just vocals, perfect IEM. But for an overall sound usage, I have my reservations. And the in between of these two is the Kirin. The Kirin has a much substantial improvement in the mid bass, so it's more lively. And then you can see the Kirin as well. It's got that roughly 10 dB pina, and then kind of, you know, it's just more up and down here. It's more up and down, and it seems somewhat with certain vocals you will feel that it just sounds a little bit off. It's not that it sounds wrong, it just sounds a little bit off. But overall, honestly, and again with a bit of playing around with the tips, it's not bad. It is not bad. I've actually been playing around with the Kirin and doing a few things to it, and I actually came up with this version of it. Okay, which, let me just take the other ones out. I'll just leave the two Kirins so that I can show you guys. I came up with this, and it's a work in progress. I need to kind of balance these 2 points here, but it's not that bad. And the thing that I'm at least am very happy with is that although there's this peak at 5, which you would think, oh my god, this thing's gonna murder my ears, actually it's not that bad. The peak at 5, I honestly do not notice it, and I think again this has to be down to the characteristics of a planar and how a planar works. So planars just have a different way of doing things, and this is not really noticeable. While, for example, let me just put you at the stock one. You see, it's not bad. It didn't sound bad. Anyway, we are not talking here about what I've done to the Kirin. We're talking here about the PLA, and just putting the 3 together. This is what I was talking about in the beginning. This is what you can see of the variation. This one, the Dyoko, shows off very well what a planar is capable of doing, but at the price of being very lean in the bass. The Kirin, which is the blue line, showcases some of the characteristics of a planar driver, although the graph might not be the most pretty graph to look at. But it's got nice bass, it's impactful, it's fun, it's capable of doing a lot of things which the Dyoko will not be comfortable in doing. And then we have the PLA, which is an absolute bass monster, and by being so bass heavy, it kind of detracts away from this whole area where the magic of a planar happens. So we have here one by excess, one by I don't know, the opposite of excess, one by not having enough, and the Kirin Rain in the middle doing this area at least the best out of the three, and that's it. So oh, another thing that I wish that I forgot to mention, and I think it's worthwhile mentioning, not only is well, planars in general are very much power dependent, like I said, but also the source will affect the sound. I found that the PLA sounded actually the best through the Tri-TK2. The fact that the Tri-TK2 has got a more open sound by nature, it's a very bright sounding DAC amp, it actually benefits the PLA, and it's kind of, it's the bass of the Tri is also a little bit less intense. It also benefits it. My NX7 combination with the UAE, or my M15, or the others, just they were more, yes, more neutral in the sense that they showcased the truth about the PLA, but they just also made things more a little bit, I'm not going to say worse, but they just showed the truth about the PLA, that it's very bass heavy, period, while the Tri was able to camouflage that negative aspect of. Anyway, guys, that's my take on the CCA PLA. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I guess you could if you're on a budget, if you don't have enough money to buy a more well-tuned planar, yes, definitely go for it. And if you don't like, if you don't mind playing around with an EQ, well, in that case, then definitely get it for the $65. If you're a guy or a girl that likes playing with EQ, get it. You will not be disappointed. It plays well, it fits well in the ear. It's got the usual CCA characteristics, and in that aspect, it fits well. Not fatiguing to use. It isolates decently. But just remember that aspect that I mentioned. It needs power and it needs EQ to take care of this, and things will shine. All right, take care, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.